join us now. I see her ready to go here on the side of my screen. Joanne, how are you today?
Doing great. Thank you so much, CJ.
Well, I got to ask you, I have seen so much great, news releases and just so much great information about some of your guys' clients. Tell us a little bit of, if you could, a little elevator pitch of what the SBDC for the Metro East at SIUE is all about.
Of course. Thank you again. So we are under the SBA and Department of Commerce and hosted here at SIUE to assist entrepreneurs and small business owners here in Southwest Illinois. So it doesn't matter if you're just thinking of starting a business or you've been in business for 20 years. There's ways that we can assist you. There's no cost to our one-on-one advising, and it's all confidential. And we can provide resources and guidance on really anything that has to do with your daily operation. Business planning, marketing strategy, securing funding, HR, cash flow management, really any of those topics and more.
Well, and too, what I think is it's really just an incredible resource because, as a former business owner and, administrator, I guess, when I ran the app out in Texas and the construction company, there's so many different aspects of, a business to develop that I don't think a lot of us really realize when we just, create the first Facebook page for it. You know what I'm getting at? And I think that you guys do such a great job. Is it okay if I ask you about a news release that just came out about one of your clients, Justine Peterson's just recently won the Small Business of the Year award. Can you talk a little bit about that and some of the great things that you guys have been able to accomplish?
Yeah, so Lindsay Wold with Amygdala Co. won the Justine Peterson Award recently. Justine Peterson is a micro lender and social organization in St. Louis, but they cover both sides of the river and most counties in southern Illinois, really below I-80. So we were able to connect Lindsay with them probably a couple of years ago now, and we've also been able to assist her with HR support and marketing and just lots of other things. So she is doing very well and growing her business, and we wanted to give a shout out since she won that award. And I know we did a story a year or so ago about her as a business to share what she does for families. She helps parents and children with behavioral issues and basically trying to create a better interaction between parent and child.
And to me, I was reading that story and just went, what a remarkable mission, because, that's another thing is it seems like, everyone that's doing such great things that have used your guys' services or utilized them have a very distinct mission, because so many times I've noticed it in just the small bit of consulting I do. It's, someone might want to start a driveway paving business, but it's, what's the mission there? Well, I just want to pave driveways. Well, that's okay. That's nothing wrong with that. But what's your real mission? And to have a mission like that, that's truly just remarkable. It makes the hair on my arms stand up a little bit, because it's just so cool. And I got to ask you, Joanne, how long have you been in this position?
Well, I've been director since 2017, so going on 6 years now. But I've been with the center even before that as a business specialist, and then prior to that, even as a graduate assistant.
That is
so quite a long time.
And tell me a little bit about the growth that this that your guys' center has really had over the years, because you've had kind of a good perspective on things. Share with us if you could.
Yeah, I think, getting the word out and really making connections. Probably 20% or more of my time is spent doing outreach. So we're able to get into different communities, talk to, different lenders, attorneys, accountants, and different partners that we can work with. So they can be our advocate as well and let people know about our center and the great resources that we have. So I have loved being able to, continue the mission of the SBDC and grow. We probably see over 200 clients a year, maybe
Wow.
even closer to 250.
Wow.
Um,
That,
so we keep very busy. We're a small office, but I say we're small but mighty.
well, I've noticed, Joanne, that the smaller offices that have to me, I'd rather work in a smaller office that has a good chemistry, a good working relationship than a large office with too many moving parts, because then all of a sudden, things get lost in translation and you guys are just kicking butt and taking names. I mean, in all seriousness. And I want to ask you a little bit about your webinars that you guys are doing, and presentations and some of these really cool workshops on the 15th of February, starting your small business in Illinois. Can you fill us in a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so if you have a business idea, or maybe you just started business and now you're realizing maybe I need to learn a little more, we go over, my colleague Marty runs the workshop, and she goes over um, business planning, the registration process, criteria for lending, and that whole process of funding your business. So it's a great fundamental workshop. Yeah.
That's incredible. And what I'm just blown away about this, because to me, and I was a part of a bunch of really nice organizations, really good organizations to, help with some of the networking components. But this encompasses the total package here, because it's great to know people, but it's also great to know how to do things too, and how to do things the correct way. I got to ask you right off the bat, because you have so much more experience in this than I do. What's a common misconception that one of your clients has about, starting their business in Illinois, that is there one that you kind of always experience in your first consult? Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. I would say the biggest misconception is that there's grants out there to start your business.
Yeah.
There are a few grants. There are foundations that support, women-owned businesses, minorities, veterans. But, to pay for your operating expenses, and buy your computer and your furnishings and whatever you need, you really can't use a grant to pay for those operating expenses most of the time. So that's a big misconception. And we don't write grants. We're not here for the nonprofit sector. So a
Right.
lot of grants are for nonprofits. And if there are grants out there, we do let people know about them, and we try to guide as much as we can, but we are limited. And, most of the grants that we deal with are through like the SBA or Department of Commerce.
Well, and too, you just segued this perfectly for me. I don't know if you're reading my mind at all, because I was going to ask you about this live webinar on the 22nd of February, which is the grant pre-steps. And to me, this is something that I have a lot of interest over, because the grant writing process, just the whole, I've never tried, never even looked into it, but I'm just so fascinated by it, because it takes talent to secure a grant. I mean, that's a skill,
Yeah.
not just a luxury,
Right. It takes a lot of work. It's overwhelming. There's a lot of steps, a lot of writing. Um, the workshop that we offer, or webinar, goes over basically the pre-qualifications for federal and state grants. So most of those grants require the GATA registration process, which starts with securing your unique entity identifier,
Right.
UEI. It used to be called a DUNS number, and then that SAM registration, and then essentially going through a questionnaire and making sure that you have all of that taken care of, and keeping yourself current with the Secretary of State if you're an LLC, for example, or a corporation. And then you also have to abide by the rules when you get a grant, so you don't want to have any stop payments or issues like that. So that whole GATA process makes sure that you are ready and can qualify for these grants.
That's incredible. And just a quick question, and I didn't want to throw you off on this by any, but can somebody that has a business already, to maybe they just started a couple of months in, can they still utilize your guys' services, or is this for pre-concept ideas?
No, of course.
Okay.
you can come to us day one, you have an idea, or you can
Right.
come to us 10 years down the road and you've already been in business. Yes.
That is an awesome thing because that's what I was trying to figure out because sometimes I make you know what happens when we assume, it just doesn't it's not a good look and I am so glad I asked that question. Well, and another thing I wanted to ask you about is something that I've been experiencing a lot more because for a lot of people know I do pro wrestling and a big component of my training was learning about intellectual property and what you can actually claim and what you can't. Is that something that you guys deal with your clients as well with IP?
We have resources that can help with the intellectual property and, copyrights, trademarks, all of that. There are legal clinics that we can utilize, and definitely the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Um, it's something that we can guide on, but we're not attorneys, so we would have
Right.
to refer
Well, and
some of that.
that's what I was kind of getting at because it seems like that you have the gauntlet of resources available for anything we really could utilize and need
Mhm.
to keep developing our businesses. And I got to ask you, so if someone comes in and sets up a consult with you and says, "Hey, I would like to meet," how does that process normally go? What's that first meeting with you guys look like?
Well, really, the first meeting is getting to know their business,
Mhm.
a little bit about them and the business and where they are in the process, and some of the challenges that they're facing. As I always tell my clients in that first meeting, we're not here to solve world peace in one day. So this is a relationship. Let's tackle one, two, maybe three areas and create an action plan, and then we're going to meet again, maybe every 2 weeks, whatever that time frame looks like, and then we can, add and continue, working on other problems as we move forward. So, maybe we deal with the immediate need, and then we can get back to some of those other areas like bookkeeping
Yeah.
and marketing, whatever it might be.
Right. That is seriously incredible. And, I love that because you're right. Everyone wants to go in and just hit the ground making $1 million a year. And, well, unfortunately, that doesn't happen that way.
Exactly.
And has there ever been a time where, and this is really something that I just want for my own insight, is the category or genre, I guess, industry type of business changing that you guys service? Is there are there more construction companies than, someone starting up an IT company? What's been the trend for you guys in developing, these clients? Has it been, blue collar job, blue collar business, white collar business? Has there been a trend there?
I would say there is a trend, but we can, just full disclosure, we can help any type of business.
Right.
So I guess over the last several months, maybe about a year, we've seen a lot of, construction and transportation logistics companies for sure. But, we're currently working with some, chiropractors and medical offices. Um, we've got food businesses. I know this has probably been a few years, but we had probably pre-pandemic, we were really seeing quite a few childcare services. So it seems like when you have one, you end up getting multiple.
Multiple. Yep.
So I would say right now the biggest group that we're serving are those transportation and logistics, and then construction. Mhm.
Absolutely. And I got to ask you, I'm looking behind you real quick because I see some Edwardsville CEO postcards. I was actually a part of Riverbend CEO's first ever class and used
Yeah,
that to start my business and actually just had Edwardsville CEO on about a month or two ago talking about their class fundraiser. And I got to
that's
ask
awesome.
you, with your experience, how good is it? How insightful is it to see some younger individuals really trying to grab the reins of dictating their own journey here in life by creating their own business? Have you had some insight in that as well?
Yeah, I've definitely been part of several CEO programs, Riverbend somewhat, and Granite City, Belleville, and Edwardsville. I've even gone down to Monroe and Randolph County.
Wow.
We cover 9+ counties, so um, we can definitely share some insight with those students. And I have to say they are so creative and so smart, and they are just so eager to learn.
Joanne,
It's fun.
I gotta ask you, I have come to the consensus here because I get the opportunity and I love doing it every year is going to talk to the prospective juniors at Alton High School about joining the program and what it could do for them. And,
Mhm.
I think there's a certain age that we don't know what happens, but it just happens where we just walk and all of a sudden our creative genius just gets cut right down the middle because I don't know what happened. I was the kid that had great ideas like all the other great RiverBend CEO and Edwardsville CEO students, but then all of a sudden I turned 23 and there they went. It was just gone.
Yep.
And Joanne, I really want to thank you so much for hanging out with us, but is there anything else you'd like to get out about the SBDC that maybe we aren't too familiar with?
Well, I would definitely like to mention that we offer a business plan competition.
Oh,
This is going to be our 10th year, so we offer roughly $25,000 to the top 4 place winners, and for a couple years now, we've been also including 2 additional prizes, so a total of 6. This year, I'm working to make that 8 prizes, so even more. And I just look forward to a great competition. I invite any entrepreneur that's for profit in the Metro East. We include, the 9 counties plus Fayette and Montgomery counties.
mm-hmm.
Um, so as long as you're less than 3 years in business and we're not getting into any of those restricted categories like cannabis or um, lobbying
Right.
and religious and different things, um, please apply. And I always say, even if you don't win, you make some great contacts. You learn how to write your business plan and really, understand the process and how to pitch. And it really is a great experience.
Absolutely. And how can we register for that competition?
Well, I'm mentioning it now, but it's a little early. We usually announce opening in June,
Oh, okay.
and the first submission is in August. So the first submission isn't due until August, I think like the 13th, somewhere in there.
I got a question for you, and I'm putting you on, but you're not. I'm putting you on the spot, but not in a bad way. Can you come
Okay,
back a little bit in June, and we can kind of talk about this
perfect.
competition and preview? Because this is exciting. I think we need to really support our entrepreneurs and
Hmm.
give them a reason, just like our local athletes, to kind of support
Hmm.
them in this. And I think that would be awesome, Joanne. And I am so.
Yep.
Proud to have met your acquaintance, and thank you so much for helping so many small businesses develop right here in our own backyard and helping our communities continue to grow.
Well, I appreciate the invitation and love sharing what we do. It really motivates me every day. I come from a small business background. People always say, "Why didn't you get into the family business?" I had a couple brothers that wanted to, take that on, and I had my own path to forge. And I'm the oldest child, so I've always been the mentor and the guide and the example for others. So they still my siblings still come to me for advice a lot of times. Um,
I love it.
so yeah, so I think this is just a perfect fit for me. I help others, and it puts a smile on my face when I see their smile and their success.
Absolutely. Joanne, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
It is 10:35 in the heart of the Riverbend. We're going to take a quick break. We got 643 Sports joining us because they have an awesome home run derby. We'll learn all about that and more right after this in downtown Alton.